So today's the day. Man, this has been, I would say, at least 6 weeks of planning, buying, tearing apart, and everything. The whole JRI and HCR mid-travel kits. Um, so the way I'm going to do this video is pretty simple. I'm going to break it down to like 4 or 5 sections. I'm going to break down the axles, the tie rods. I'm going to tell you about my experience with HCR. I've got 2,500 miles on the kit so far, so I think I can talk pretty educatedly about, if that's a real word, probably not, about my experience. You know what I mean? I've had it in all kinds of different environments. And then I'm going to talk about the pricing. And then lastly, I'm going to do the unbox, or I'm going to do the pricing at the end and the unboxing. So let's just kind of go into it. For starters, I haven't had a problem with HCR at all. So I've ran 2,500 miles on it. I've jumped it. I've had it in the dunes, rock crawling, and up in Moab, Sand Hollow. I've had zero issues with the kit itself. Now, what I have had issues with is the axles. What has happened under full articulation and torque at the same time, so basically the wheels are hanging in the air. I don't have limit straps. And under the twisting motion, I'm literally pulling the axle apart. So the clip that holds the actual bar to the knuckle there, I'm ripping it apart. I've gone through 4. I think that's a problem. I've talked about this on a couple of the videos. So I put on my sway bar links. I haven't been able to recreate the problem. So I think if you want to go articulation and you want to remove the sway bar links, you're going to need to put limit straps on if you want to prevent the axles from pulling themselves apart. Or buy longer axles. I don't know if that's going to fix the problem. I kind of gave up on it after a while, and when I went to the sway bar links, it fixed my problem. So I lost some articulation, but I gotta be honest, guys, when I was in Moab, I'm watching stock units with sway bar links and 30-inch tires go up the exact same trails as I did with 35s and a mid-travel kit. So I don't know, man. I mean, I think I'll just leave it on and call it a day. Problems fixed as far as I'm concerned. I don't know if I want to really put JRI stuff through the same stuff. I might. I don't know. It was a 15-hour trip one way, and I broke 2 or 3 axles in one trip. So I don't think I want to drive that far just to find out. We'll see how it goes. Time will only tell. So let's get into it. First, we're going to start with the tie rods. They're the easiest ones. So when you get an HCR kit, you're going to reuse the outer and inner tie rod. And what HCR has chosen to do is give you an extension. And this allows it to reach, because obviously if you're going wider, you need to be able to reach point A to point B. Now, this has pros and cons to it. This is what's called the sacrificial part. So in 2,500 miles, I only bent one of these. That's not too bad. I jumped it, I've rock crawled it, I've done all kinds of crazy stuff with my rig. So to only go through one extension in 2,500 miles, that's not too bad. Now that being said, I've seen other people break them, and man, they were stuck, and it took them all day long to fix it. So if you go with the HCR, make sure you have a couple of these extra hanging around. And then before you swap it out, make sure to take measurements, because it's going to affect your alignment. So if you don't take measurements and you swap this thing out, your steering wheel is going to be like this and your wheels are going to be like that. It's going to be kind of frustrating for you if you have to do it on the trail. Man, I'm glad I didn't have to do it on the trail. It would have been horrible. I just got lucky sitting on a rock looking at my rig going, man, the tire looks really funny. And I noticed that my extension was bent. So I was able to cripple it back several miles, and I didn't break it. So as soon as I got back. In fact, that's actually when I met JRI. I met him the day before at a function in Sand Hollow, and they actually had a set of their tie rods, and I bought a set, and I thought that was pretty cool. So, big difference between the two. Non-sacrificial part, so they're not gonna bend or break. These things are I can tell that they're probably they're definitely hollow in the middle. So they may fold. I don't know. They use a Heim joint where they use a stock tie rod. These have a tendency to squeak a little bit. I'm noticing I'm getting a little bit of squeaking going on. A little annoying, but big difference between the two. HCR uses extension. JRI uses I think this is a billet aluminum tie rod with a Heim joint ball end. I would say the only con to this is just the fact that it makes a little bit of squeaking noise. I'm not too worried about it taking out the steering rack like I used to have that theory back in the day. I've got about 9,000 miles between the two units, and both of my steering racks have been holding up just fine, and I drive crazy. So some people have had bad experience with steering racks. I have not. I've had I've had a lot of success with my steering rack. So HCR extension and JRI one piece. It's a pretty good difference. Now we're going to talk about axles. So with Super ATV, I think that they own HCR. I don't know the whole business behind the scenes and all that, even though I've met the reps with HCR. I don't remember how all that works. So I've gone through three or four of these axles so far. And so I've had, I haven't had luck. I've had other people tell me they've had great luck. I have not. I've broken many. Now, is that my fault? Or is that HCR's fault? Or is it the axle's fault? Is it too short for the kit? Are you supposed to have limit straps? I don't know. So the problem is I don't have any answers, and I never could find them. So let's take these axles out, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare the Rhinos to the Demons. JRI will use this as well as the Demon. So you do have an option. But with HCR, you could probably buy a set of Demons, now that I think about it, for the HCR. I guess. I don't know. But with JRI, they give you both options, I believe. So I have several axles that are used that I pulled off, but I wanted to do an unboxing, brand new, of the Rhinos versus the Demon. That way you guys can get a good idea of what's different, if anything. All right, so there's the Rhino, brand new out of the box. Now, I did notice one thing about these two, is the boxes on the Demon's quite a bit bigger. I don't know about the axle, but the box is bigger. I don't know if that means anything. It could just be creative packaging, or the axle itself could be bigger. I've never looked at this, so I don't even know what this looks like. Okay, so first off, it's way heavier. Like, significantly heavier. Yeah, it's different. There's something, I don't know exactly what's different, but You know, they mentioned in their brochure it's double plunge. I don't know what that means. So when whew, so when Brock or Brandon watches this video, I want you guys to comment on it. You know, this could be also so I think I kind of messed up here. I think what I did is I'm comparing a front axle to a rear axle. So, yeah, probably. So I'm noticing some difference on the boots. On the Rhinos, they're quite a bit fatter. On the Demons, they're skinnier, but they're longer, and they are heavier. So, you know, does that make a difference on the trail? I don't know. Is it the fact that I swapped the front to the rear? I don't know that either. So, and of course, I don't know how to read the codes. So I think what I'm going to do, to be fair, I gotta compare apples to apples. 6118 HT 4ET. So that's the same. These ones are different. All right. 6119. All right. Let's do this. I got to do a good job. I'm only going to do this one time, so I think I owe it to everybody to make sure that I compare apples to apples. I don't want to compare a back axle with a front axle and tell you guys it's better. That would not be very cool of me. Alrighty then. I can tell you right now though, guys, it's heavier. The Demons are definitely heavier than the Rhinos, for sure. All right, so a couple differences I'm already seeing, especially with the front. So the bands are twice as wide on both the collar and the boot right here. I can't tell if one's heavier than the other. So the bands are definitely wider and thicker for sure. The boot material's thicker as well. The Rhinos is very malleable, not so much on the Demon. The Demon is very thick and heavy duty, very thick. Now here's interesting. The back of it is identical. Huh, that's interesting. So the bands are the same. The boots are similar. This is a much stiffer material. Very interesting. So I don't know if you guys can hear that. I got the mic on my chest. Lots of play in there. Nothing. Interesting. I would say by inspection, there's something up with these Demons. They do seem to be of higher quality based off of the boot material and the bands. And it's interesting that they don't make any noise at all where they go from the shaft to where they slide on the axles. And this is where my problem is. Every time I break a Rhino, it's always at that joint. And now that I listen to it, It's got a lot of play in there, a lot of play. So for me, that's pretty interesting. Now the proof's in the pudding. I'm gonna put 2,500 miles on these demons and the JRI kit. So I'm gonna put it through a beating hard. And Brock and Brandon know that. I'm gonna run it, I'm gonna jump it. I'm putting a turbo on this thing. I am gonna be putting a whipping on these axles. So if I can break it, I'll let you guys know. I'm really excited though. I do think it's better. It's really interesting how those straps are completely different and how the boot material is different. So cost-wise, oh man, I think they're the same price. I think. I don't know. I'm gonna let Brandon and or Brock. They're the owners of JRI. I'm gonna let those guys pitch in on that one. I also noticed that the shaft is beveled in, where on the Rhinos it's straight across. Just little things. I don't think the diameter is any bigger. It doesn't look like it at all. I don't know. Maybe it just kind of looks like a better quality axle. The fact that it doesn't make that noise is insane to me. So that's pretty interesting. So I think now what I'm going to do is, we talked about the HCR. I've had zero issues with the components. The bushings, have very minor wear. I can feel like a little ridge. Keep in mind, this is 2,500 miles that I've driven this thing on. Between the interstate, the highways, the dunes, rock crawling, the dirt, jumping it, flogging it, everything. I gotta be honest, guys, I'm not really seeing a lot of wear here. It's kind of cool. And for the fact that I can't service them without removing them, I was a little concerned about that. I would prefer that I could service these things without removing them, because to remove the upper control arm on the front and the rear, so the rear you have to remove the muffler to get the bolt out, and on the front you have to remove the bumper. So now that's with the DRT front bumper, and it blocks the bolt. I don't know about a stock bumper. You may have enough access there, you may not. I don't know. I haven't had a stock bumper since day one. So let's go ahead, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to clear off the table real quick, and then I'm going to open up the box for JRI. And then whatever control arm I get, whether it's upper, lower, front, upper, lower on the rear, I'm then going to do a side-by-side comparison and then tell you guys what I think about the two. So let's move these aside. I think Rhinos are heavier. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know if it makes a difference or not. It could not. It's interesting that they're heavier. All right, guys, let's open up this box and see what we have. Packaging is first class for sure. Okay, just gonna check something on the camera. Okay. Holy moly. Holy cow. Man. It's packaged very well, as it should be. These kits, they're both about the same price, so they're both right at the $5,000 mark. So they both are probably, I never got to see the HCR because when I had that done, I had it done in California and they already had everything laid out. So, but I guarantee you that they're going to be the same as far as packaging goes. Holy cow. If you guys goof on me for struggling, I don't care. That is some thick cardboard. Man, that's like plywood or something. Holy cow. Cool. Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Man, I hope I don't get cut. No, the staples are gone. Yeah, I know they got to use the staples, but man, they scare me. All right, so it did get me, dirtbag. This is gonna be a lower rear. So let's compare. Well, let me first give you my first visual. Right out of the box. TIG welds are impeccable. Same can be said with HCR. I had no problems with the welds or the structural components. I am going to leave this the raw steel. I'm going to put a clear coat on this one. I really, really like it. So, one thing I'm noticing, guys, is they have the same, it's almost the same exact setup as far as where the bushings go through, except they've actually drilled and tapped a hole for a zerk. So these ones are serviceable. That's pretty cool. I'll probably grease these things every 500 miles, give or take. You know, they had oil on them when I pulled them apart, these bushings here. But they got some weird residue left over. I wonder if that would have still been there if I was able to grease it. Because I can't imagine anybody want to take these apart every 500 miles. That would suck. So the welds are really neat. They got that nice bluing color on there. I'm going to want to maintain that. So that is JRI. Oh. And this is HCR. So again, it's, I almost wonder, I'm going to get the same one. See, the problem is I'm doing a completely cold turkey unboxing. I don't know what's in this stuff at all. So, okay, so it's a little different. Looks like the dimensions are the same, which means the geometry is going to be the same. One of you guys asked about geometry differences between the two. I don't see any geometry difference at all. So HCR, and then JRI. Weight. I can't tell. The steel looks a little thicker. I'm not sure. Even if it is, I'm not worried about that part. I like the fact that I can maintenance these things. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. They're very similar though. Very, very similar. Cool. Now, let's unbox the next one. So this is, again, the lower, I believe. Okay, so this is the other side. I'm not going to do a comparison on that, other than again, very similar. I would say HCR is heavier. Yeah, for sure. They got more metal. This sticks out. This is choked down, where this kind of is a little bit wider. I don't know if that makes a difference. I don't think it makes a difference. I don't know. Now, if I put the same beating on my JRI as I do HCR, I'll be able to find a weakness if less metal means greater fatigue. But I've talked to other people with JRI. They drive like I do, so they're not having any structural issues. All right. Ooh. Man, I tell you what, I love this raw metal look. Holy cow, that's heavy. Oh, I guarantee 100% these are definitely heavier than the HCR. So there's a lot going on here. Boom. Lots of welds. So what they've done is they've got a boxed. This looks like a lower. It could be an upper. I don't know. It's hard to tell. And then what they've done is they've welded more steel on top of it and overlapped it, and then TIG welded on top for strength. It looks like. I was talking to Brandon and Brock, and they were telling me something about overlapping the steel. I guess that's what this is that they've overlapped the steel on top of steel and then TIG welded it for strength, because this is the weak point. So that's pretty cool. Now let's take a look at HCR. It's gonna be, I think, yep, that's it. Oh, that's interesting. No. I don't know how it is. I had a 50-50 shot from getting the same so that I could pull it out and then compare side by side, and then I had to grab the wrong one. Man. All right, hold on. I think it's this one right here. Yeah. No, that ain't it. That's gonna be the upper, or the other side, I believe. No, that's it. Oh, there it is. No. All right, well. Can't really tell the difference. So, definitely different. Switch the arms. I've never been good at puzzles. And I don't think it's that because of that, but it could be. Let me flip this over. Yeah, there we go. That's it. So, again, I'm looking at everything in great detail. The biggest difference I see between the two is there's a lot of overlapping on JRI, where HCR is it's just constructed completely differently. They're both boxed, but I mean, this is HCR. Boom, boom. Boom. And then, oh, it's heavier. This is significantly heavier. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Kind of a double-edged sword, honestly. I don't know. It's definitely a lot heavier. But they've also used more steel. So, you know, of course, their welds. I wish I had clear on the HCR. You could see how clean their welds are. Their welds are just as good or similar. But JRI is, they've done a lot of overlapping. And I can tell that what they've done is for strength and durability. Now, my only question would be to what end? I pounded the crap out of HCR and I haven't had any structural issues. JRI has obviously gone out of their way to overbuild their control arms. I've never heard of anybody having an issue with added strength and durability. The only consequence is you're going to get a what are you going to get? Added weight, but the upper seems lighter than HCR. So I didn't bring. I was going to measure all the contact points, but I've already talked to Brock and Brandon. The geometry is the same between HCR and JRI. The axles are completely different. They are built way differently. I believe that the Demons are significantly better. That being said, proof's in the pudding. Once I put it on, then I get that turbo put on, man, I'm going to be romping this sucker and putting this thing to the test. I don't think that this is going to be an issue at all. I do like the fact that they have grease, that they've drilled and tapped holes for grease zerks on all of their bushings from what I can see. So, yeah, and it looks like every one. So every one of them is a maintenanceable zerk, so you don't have to take it apart. That's pretty cool. I do like that. So the tabs, where I think those are for the sway bar links, they're quite a bit thicker on JRI here versus HCR. I sure hope the camera can get this. So if you look at JRI sway bar links, the thickness is definitely more. I don't know about how much. I don't have a micrometer here, or else I'd look into it. I don't think it really matters. I don't think it's a weak point at all. That being said, you know, I can tell that these are definitely built thicker, and it has this little UE thing here where HCR does not. Is that a big deal? I don't know. Probably not. I never had a problem. I think it's a, but I do. There's something called over-engineering. This looks like an over-engineered part in a good way. I believe that they've done a lot of R&D on building this thing, and they have built this to withstand an absolute beating. I beat on the HCR, but I'm not a professional racer, nothing like that. Plus, these things are Expeditions. The fastest I've ever had it on dirt was probably 60, 65 through 2 to 3 foot of whoops and just hammering it. So I'm by no means any kind of a professional racer. I do put a beating on there. If I had to make an off the hips call though, I would say that the JRI is built stronger. It's got more reinforcements. It's got some kind of a clamshell or something. I don't know. I've heard that terminology kind of thrown around on some of the forums that they use some kind of a clamshell to go over there for reinforcements. Because one thing you don't want on a box or any kind of a, even if it's round, you want to strengthen the weak point, which is going to be about right here. If you're going to bend or break one of these arms, this is where the weakness is going to be. And what JRI has done is that they've used a clamshell, TIG welded over it. You're not going to bend this. You're going to, I'll tell you what, if you bend anything, it's going to be the frame of the vehicle. You ain't bending this. I don't think you're going to bend HCR either. But, it's that's a piece of steel. So we've gone over tie rods, axles, and then we've done an unboxing for the upper lower control arm. I'm sure it's going to be the same for the front as the rear. I don't think I need to beat a dead horse. So, final thoughts. HCR it is held up for at least 2,500 miles without any failures. 100%, no problem. I have had bad luck with their axles, with the Rhinos. Me personally. I have heard other people that have had 0 issues. So, is it me or is it them? I will tell you this, I haven't found anybody else that drives without sway bar links. And ever since I put them on, I haven't had a failure. That being said, if I just had to make a statement about the axles, 100% Demon's gonna win. Those axles are significantly better visually. Now, whether or not it actually holds up in the field, I mean, that's a different story. I'm sure it will. I'm gonna put a beating on it, and then I'll let you guys know if I have any failures, just like I did with Rhinos. As far as the ball joints on JRI and HCR, I went with Super ATV Heavy Duty 300M. They're heavy duty, they're adjustable. I'm very happy with those. I put hundreds of miles on them. Thousands and thousands of miles on them. And they're adjustable. So if they start to get a little loose on you, you can actually tighten them up. I haven't figured out how to do that. I've read about it, but I just haven't done it yet. So I need to play with that, and then one of these days I'll do a ball joint thing for you guys. So HCR could use some improvements in my opinion. I like the fact that JRI has maintenanceable grease zerks for the bushings. That's really cool. It's built heavier duty for sure. No doubt about it. There's no doubt in my mind that this is a heavier duty built. So now, how do you pick between the two, right? So if you're looking at box design, you got the big 3. You got Thumper Fab, which is a box design that puts round bar in there that has inherently axle popping out problems. It's all over the forums. It's all over the internet. Everybody knows about it. It's no secret. That's actually one of the main reasons I'm not a fan. I also don't like the whole square tubing with round tube. And so they've never been on my radar, primarily because of the axles, and then secondary because of the way that they've designed it. And in fact, they've changed the geometry. HCR and JRI have the factory geometry from what I can tell. I'm not a math guy, so I don't know. I mean, it looks really close. So, but from what I could tell, they share the same geometry. from what I can tell. JRI is definitely built heavier duty. Is it better? I mean, I don't know how you answer that question. You know, it to me it looks like it's way more stout. And if you're putting a 35, 37-inch tire on, you know, this is going to hold up a little bit better than this. But I haven't had any structural issues. So key differences is maintenance. These are maintenanceable. Those are not. You have to remove them, take them apart, clean them, grease them, put it back together. That's a pretty big job. So that's a very inconvenient. JRI has overcome that by drill and tapping. Now HCR could easily do that with a simple tooling change, or if you wanted HCR, then you just drill and tap it, and you got a greaser. Problem solved. Cost. So right now on the cost factor, because obviously they're both very similar, with some, I would say, some added benefits on JRI's side. HCR right now is $5,250, $5,250 for their kit. That's raw steel, not powder coated. They give you tie rod extensions, and axle, and I believe in the axles as well. I believe. And JRI is $5,500. So they're $250 more retail. Now this is where it kind of gets a little tricky. JRI is an XMods sponsor. They're giving us discounts. So with their discounts, it makes it cheaper than HCR. So retail to retail, JRI is more. But because they're a sponsor, it's actually less. And if anybody from HCR is watching this video, if you want to become a sponsor on the page and give us a discount, I encourage you to reach out, and I will put HCR right up there with JRI. I believe in fair market. I think that it would be great to have them both up there with an XMods discount. I have reached out 2 or 3 times to HCR with no response. And so I have knocked on that door. That being said, you're paying the same price. And I think you're getting better components. It's really hard to I mean, it's not hard to tell. It's the tie rods are pretty big. You know what I mean? They're night and day. The axles seem to be quite a bit better. So again, I won't know until I beat on them, but just from common sense, the bands are wider and thicker. I don't know if they're thicker, but they're definitely wider, and they definitely look heavier. I don't know if the bands make any difference or not. I'm not an axle guy, other than the fact that I've replaced quite a few on my unit. The tie rods are kind of a big deal. I've never been a fan of the extensions, but that being said, you know, you have to figure out if you want a sacrificial part or not. Because if you go with JRI, those aren't sacrificial. If you if you hit a boulder or something like that, you know, you're going to feel that in your wrist. So I'm going to deal with it with JRI, because right now, obviously, I got JRI. I'm using JRI tie rods. That's the way I'm going to go. I mean, it just seems like it does seem like it's a better built kit. But here's the fact though. The fact is, I've got 2,500 miles on my HCR kit, and I've never had a structural failure. I can't even imagine JRI having a structural failure on their arms. They are definitely overbuilt. I love the way they've clamshelled it on top of the frame and kind of sandwiched it down. They've really done a good job on what I can see visually is they've done a good job on reinforcing the weak points that could break or whatever over time. The biggest thing I don't like about HCR is the lack of maintenance. I do like how you can maintenance these. And for the same price, I mean, that's going to be a pretty big deal. So when this video comes out, it'll come out today. Today is July 1st. JRI is going to give whoever calls in first and orders their kit a free set of tie rods. So it'll make it even cheaper. So you can use your discount code and get a free set of tie rods. I think the tie rods are like, oh man, I think they're like $500. It doesn't say. It broke it down in the thing, but I'm pretty sure those tie rods are like $500. So whoever puts in the X mods 10, I think it is, you have to look under the feature tab because I don't remember all the codes. We have a lot of sponsors. Anyway, the first guy or gal that orders a set from JRI will get $500 or get the free tie rods. I'm saying a lot because I'm a little overwhelmed on this whole process. Because now what I have to do is send out all these arms to have them powder coated clear. Then I have to go take them to go get the ball joints pressed in. And then I have to do reassembly. And then it goes in the shop for the turbo. So there's so much going on right now. I don't know, guys. That's a pretty slick looking deal. HCR is tight looking too. They both are very, very stout and big. I don't know, man. I kind of got to tip my hat to JRI. It just seems like they're better built. The steel feels thicker and stronger. That being said, again, I keep on going back and forth. You know what I mean? It's like, well, I haven't had any structural issues with HCR. So for me personally, I'm not having a problem with structural. I'm having a problem with the axles breaking on me under full extension and torquing. And only when I went to Moab did this happen. So Moab will push your unit to the max. I'll be honest, I'm probably not going to go back. Moab was cool and all, but man, the consequence of 6 inches or whatever is insane. I saw guys flip their full rigs just by going one. It was crazy. I don't want to destroy this thing. So yeah, I'm pretty excited. I'll get everything put together, start running it, and then if I start having issues, I'll let you guys know. But honestly, you know, they're both the same price. They're really close. I would say within a couple $100 after the X mods discount with JRI. So again, the first one that sees the video on YouTube that goes to order the kit, they'll get a free set of tie rods. You just have to punch in the order. I'm gonna let JRI kind of figure out who actually beats the clock on that one, and then I'm gonna clean up the HCR, wrap it up, and put it away for now. I know a lot of people have reached out about wanting to buy it. I may sell it, I may not. I'm not too sure how I'm gonna do all that. So I'll report back when everything's put back together. Probably once the turbo's all done, I'll do another video and then start putting this stuff through the test and report back. So I hope everybody has a great day. God bless, and go get them.